All right, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Delano Podcast News. On this episode, my guest is Wendy Wisheropp. She is from Precision Dance Center here in Delano. She's going to talk about options not only for adults, but for children in being more active in 2019. Stay tuned. All right. Well, we are here. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Good to have you here. Just talking about New Year's resolutions and different ways that parents and kids and everyone could be a little more active this year. Well, and just give us a little bit about yourself and maybe some ways that parents can kind of have that for their children this coming year.
So a little bit about me is I am a dance teacher. I've taught dance here in Delano for years at Darlene's Dance Workshop, now at Precision Dance Center. I'm a high school math teacher, and I'm also a certified fitness instructor. I work at a couple of different gyms, teaching PAYA, which is a Pilates yoga blend. I teach bar classes. And then more recently, I got certified to teach mega former classes in Bakersfield. So background is just, it's been fitness, being active my whole life, but I actually was not really fit as a child. I was overweight, and which is surprising because people say, "Oh, you were a dancer. How are you overweight?" And I think a lot of it has to do with eating. And I think that's the thing people don't realize. It's always like, "Oh, just go run, go do this," but we don't realize that food plays a major role in our health and our ability to stay fit and meet the goals that we set for ourselves. Because activities, you can do anything and you're going to make a difference in your body. Especially with kids, just getting them moving. So much time. I see it in my students all the time, sitting on their phones. And I'm guilty of it too, where I start, just scrolling on social media. And we need to find ways to get them up and moving. If they are into music and dancing, then get them dancing. If they want to try karate, get them doing karate. If they think it's just fun to go for walks, make it a habit. And I think that's one of the best recommendations I've ever been given is that I think the saying goes, it takes 21 days to form a habit. And a lot of being healthy is just habits forming. And so finding what your child likes to do and getting them to do it and being supportive about it. You can't tell your kid, hey, go be active when you're sitting there not being active. They learn from you. So as adults, we have to set the examples ourselves and get active. I know growing up, my dad would be the one who would say, hey, let's go for a walk. And he'd go for a walk with me. And by no means are my parents, triathletes or, super in shape. And that's fine. But they did support me in getting active. And I think as parents, that's one thing we can do. So, if you've got a young child, maybe look for those Mommy and Me yoga classes. They do offer them. You might have to search a little bit or maybe do a drive, but you're going to get the bonding time with your kid. And then you're also going to get the health benefits of it. And that bonding time is going to create a happier relationship, which in all does cause better health habits, less stress, improves health. So there are a ton of things that we can do to improve our health. And it's kind of just finding what works for us.
So like how you said, I didn't know there was Mommy and Me yoga.
Yeah, they have Mommy and Me yoga. So you get to do it right next to your kids. The yoga studio I work at in Bakersfield, I know they offer it once a week. I think it's on a weekend. I don't know if there's a location here in Delano that does offer it. I know that there's a couple yoga teachers in town. So maybe look them up.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be interesting to do. Now, yoga, I've always been kind of like, I don't know how I'd, like as a male, how I'd get into yoga, but I'm pretty sure there's a great number of males there.
There are actually, there's quite a few gentlemen that do take yoga. And I think you just have to find your type. There are so many different styles and people are just, we know what we see on movies. We know what we see on social media, and not all yoga is super flowy. Some of it is static. Some of it's strength building or finding different things that work for you. Maybe that's not yoga. Maybe it's a different type of machine, or so most guys like lifting weights, but maybe changing it up. The new machine I just got trained on, the Megaformer, it's phenomenal and it's great for guys and girls. And most guys wouldn't even think twice about trying it because they'd say, oh, that's a girl machine. And every guy I've put on it has about died going through the workout because it is so challenging and they don't think it's going to be. So,
So yeah, that's interesting. I think I've seen little clips of it on like
yeah.
Instagram and stuff that you
Yeah.
posted. I was like, that looks like I don't think I would be able to do that. But
But you know what? You got to start somewhere. And I think that's in the new year, that should be the goal. It's not about making these gigantic goals because that's when we set yourself up for failures. If we don't meet them in this time limit that we set for ourselves, we start to feel that we failed, that we get that failure vibe going. And so it's all about setting small, attainable goals and even just going to a class. Or if you don't like the class setting, going to the gym and walking on that treadmill for 10 minutes or riding the bike. Take a walk around your neighborhood. But just getting active is the place to start.
and I see that's a lot of things that people kind of get discouraged with because they see the big goal
Right.
and they don't really see the small little goals. And that's a good tip for people to really think about. Because one thing that discourages people is the scale. A lot of people get
Right.
on that scale and they get discouraged. They're like, nothing's happening, or I gained a little bit. So it's like they give up really easily.
Right. And one of the things that I've learned in my fitness adventure, because I didn't really start going to the gym or working out till I was about 20 years old. And one of the things that I've learned in these past 8, 9 years, how old am I now? Is that the scale is not always the best representation of how healthy you are overall. I think the best representation is how do you feel? You'll notice an improvement. Are you getting stronger? Are your pants fitting a little bit better? Do you like what you're seeing in the mirror? Because I've seen people weighing who would be considered overweight by looking at their numbers, but in terms of the way they are structured and built, they're actually extremely fit with a very low body fat percentage, but their muscle mass is a little bit higher. And so you shouldn't judge based on that number on the scale. And I think that's where, like you said, we start to pull back from our goals because we base everything on that number. And we shouldn't weigh ourselves every day. Should do a couple weighs a week and then average them out. Now, overall, if your average is going up, then you're gaining weight, obviously. But your weight is going to fluctuate due to stress, due to hormones, water weight. There's so many reasons. So a 1 pound or a half a pound change shouldn't be the be all end all of everything. It's that overall average that we reach each week.
Now, when we take a look at this, because I know with PDC, you guys have a lot of kids, and that's the
Right.
main thing is getting all the kids active. Now, sometimes parents, they see it as sometimes there's like overweight kids or like I need to
Right.
get a little more active. What would you suggest for them as far as like goals or probably to get their kids started on something? Because I mean, as a parent, I don't really see it as being easy to say you're going to go do this or something like start dance or you're going to start karate or you're going to start some kind of activity.
Activity. Start slow, start at home. If you see them, like say, I don't know, if you have your child and you're watching baseball or basketball, whatever sport that they're into, if that's what they're into watching, then start playing it with them, even if it's just shooting some hoops in your front yard. Once you get them moving, then that next step is like, hey, do you want to join a rec team? Or, go on to order a Zumba video. Zumba is probably one of the funnest, most fun workout. My English teachers would kill me for saying funnest. It's probably one of the most fun workouts I enjoy doing it. And it's, you feel silly in the moment, but do it with your kids. You can't expect a child to do something when you haven't done it with them or set that expectation of, I'm being the model for you. And I think that's the hard part is because we're so quick to say, you're going to do this. But yet we sit there and say that we don't try to do it. So lead by example because your kids do see it. And that's one of the things from my students as a teacher in high school, I see is like, well, my mom did this or my dad did this. And if you're not setting that example for them, what are they going to follow? So I would start by just things you can do at home. If that means you're cleaning on a Saturday, you turn that music up and you start dancing while you're cleaning, your kids are going to start dancing. They're going to start moving with you. So just getting them moving by getting yourself moving.
That's really, really great now that I really think about it. Because just the littlest things that you could do with your kids on a daily basis
Right.
or while you're together at home or even away because you could be on a trip or be doing something and you could turn that
Take
into
the stairs, don't do the elevators. That's one of the things that my husband and I we do. We don't purposefully park far away from other cars or far away from, the exits, but it tends to happen, especially around the holiday season. And, you don't want to park next to the cars that are parked crazy, so we park a little further back. And we do take the stairs and we do take, the longer routes sometimes just because, maybe we're going to eat heavier that night. So it's not about limiting yourself in terms of like what you're eating, but it's in moderation. And what can you do to keep yourself accountable for being active? If you can walk the stairs, take the stairs. It's one thing you're going to do to get your heart rate going, your blood pumping, because you want to be, if you truly want to make a change, you need to be in what's called the fat burning zone, which is not a super cardio state. It's actually a lower heart rate zone. And when you get into that zone, that's going to help you burn off those Christmas calories. But also, you want to have some sort of muscle building. If that means, picking up a water bottle or a gallon jug and, curling it, building the muscle is super important to getting your lifestyle fit. And if you want your children to do the same, you got to model it.
Yeah, we heard that same exact thing because on the previous episode we had Barbell Fitness here.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And he came in and he was talking about like weightlifting, like some kind of strength exercise is really important, and
they are
in combination with cardio. So I mean, is there anything here in Delano or at PDC where like parents could probably do things together, or is it separate, children and adults?
Typically at PDC, we do cater to, specifically to the children. During the summer, I was offering an adult class, which was a PiYo-based Beachbody workout. And I did have quite a few parents coming weekly. I'm hoping to get that started again this upcoming summer. It's just more difficult now that I live out of town. But there's definitely options within town. I know there's Zumba teachers in town. I know there's classes going. Maybe you can just start one at your own local work, even if it's something you do on your lunch. Get the video, put it in, we don't watch VHS anymore, but, put the Blu-ray in the Blu-ray player instead of watching Instagram stories or YouTube. Get your whole work on a lunch break. Do 5 minutes of a Zumba video or just squat while you're waiting at the water cooler. I don't know if people actually do that at work. I've never had that kind of job, but...
No, that's really good. Like I think everybody says Netflix and chill. It was like there's exercise things on Netflix, so you could like Netflix and fitness or
Netflix
something.
and fitness, exactly. One of the things we always tell our kids is like, especially when they're working on flexibility at PDC, because it is flexibility that's important because that's how you're going to keep your range of motion as you get older. It's one of the things that starts to go as you get older is as your bones start to come together, your muscles start to tighten up. So keeping that flexibility is extremely important. And so one of the things we always tell our kids is every time if you're watching TV, if there's a commercial, sit in your stretch. If you're doing homework, sit in your stretch. Make sure you're stretching constantly. So if our kids can do that on a commercial break and, even just sit and touch their toes for a minute, why can't we? During those commercial breaks, get up.
Man, you're really throwing me under the bus because that's something I should be doing.
Hey, we are all guilty.
But it's good for everybody to see that. So any last tips or anything else that you could give to parents, children this coming year?
I'd say the biggest tip is that set small goals that are attainable. Don't give up on yourself. And remember, everything is fine. It's whether you do it in excess or in moderation. And I think that's the hardest thing because it's so easy to grab that bag of hot Cheetos and just sit and grub. But there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're not eating the family size by yourself. So moderation and small goals.
Well, thank you very much, Wendy. We really appreciate you coming in for this episode. Hope that any parents have any questions or anything. I'm pretty sure they could get a hold of.
They can reach out to me, Facebook or Instagram.
And of course at PDC.
At PDC, yeah. They're every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. So if you have any questions, go ahead and give it. We're going to put a little information in the description on the episode when you check it out on Facebook. So if you have any more questions, please check with them. And again, thank you very much. And everyone watching this, you'll remember you can check out all these episodes on Facebook, clips on Instagram, as well as full audio episodes on Apple Podcasts. We will see you on the next episode, everyone. You have a great day. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.